I have to tell you something. What's the oldest book of the Bible? It's not Genesis. Anybody know? Job. Job, listen to this. This is important. Get this. Begins with a conversation. It's between God and Satan. And there's a question, and God says, hey, Satan, where you been? And he says, oh, I've been roaming around the earth. Isn't that interesting? Satan's fascinated with what goes on down here. If you don't think so, check out the second temptation of Christ. We'll talk about that in a minute. So he says, where you been? And he says, oh, I've been out here roaming around. And then God wants to brag. See, we're God's trophy. And he wants to show us off. But simultaneously, that makes us Satan's targets. Okay? And the reason is, and I told this to the guys in jail, they said, what did I ever do to Satan to make him so angry at me? And what did I ever do? I mean, I'm a drug dealer. I've killed people. I've done, he should be happy with me. And I said, because you're competition. And they just looked at me and they went, what are you talking about? Competition? And I said, why do you think the rebellion began? In the 5 I wills in Isaiah 14 that we just read, listen to this. I will raise my, you ready for this? Throne above. Now wait a minute. This is one of those moments where, you want to go, you have to go to the restroom or you have to go get something to eat and you want to pause, you pause the movie and you push the stop button. Push the stop button. What is wrong with that statement when an angel is declaring that he will, an angel now, a fallen angel at that, he will raise his throne? Well, let's go to Revelation 3:20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him. This is, remember the structure? I will come into him, we're the living house of God. I will come into him and dine with him and him with me. He who overcomes will inherit all things. And I will grant that he sits with me on my... Remember, we're joint heirs with Christ. Christ rules. Jesus just reaffirmed in Revelation 3:20, we also have that same status and role to play in the kingdom. Now, what is wrong with this angel declaring in the 5 I wills of Isaiah 14? Let me get the actual words here so I can. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. What is wrong with that statement if you're an angel? Who are thrones intended for? God. We know that God is sitting on his throne. We saw that in Isaiah 66 tonight, didn't we? Heaven is my what? Throne. Earth is my footstool. We saw that tonight, right? Okay. But who else are thrones intended for? Well, there's only 2 creatures that are going to be on thrones, folks. It's either going to be the Godhead in the form of the Father and Jesus, okay? And who else? I just told you in Revelation 3:20. Us, people, human beings, dust balls. And Satan had a better idea. Remember the Ford commercials back in the 70s? Ford has a better idea, okay? Satan had a better idea. He's so smarter than God. He said, oh, these stupid people, they can't run anything. You gave them the earth. That was your plan. That was the design. That was the blueprint. You gave that to them. That's why Job is the oldest book of the Bible, because that's the great in-your-face challenge between the designer, the creator, and the usurper who takes him on face to face and says, you don't know what you're doing. Because what was the topic about? God says, hey, have you considered my servant Job? And he goes on to this list of characteristics of Job and his personality and how faithful and loyal and all this. And he goes on and on and on about Job. And then Satan goes, yeah? Take away his stuff. And we'll see how he retains all those wonderful characteristics. See, it's all about rulership. It's all about who is going to be on the throne. That's what it's all about. If you want to know why I've got such crazy things going on in my life right now and things are upside down and I don't understand why God's always testing me and why I have to do this and this and I have to, why do I have to take 2 books to Joel Lieberman? He wants to know, will you shut up and follow orders? Yes. Lieutenant Colonel talking to the captain. Do you check your compass? Do you ever look? Do you ever ask the general what he wants to do in the map? Maybe he knows more than we do. Okay, we're 5 miles from our drop zone. Big deal. We got a compass. We'll figure it out. We'll get the mission done. Knock down the sign. Remember he said that? Knock down that sign. I don't want anybody else deceived. Knock it down. It's pointing the wrong direction. It's going the whole army is going in the wrong direction. It's all about thrones and crowns. It has nothing to do with salvation. Forget it. We're talking, salvation is a gift of an opportunity. It's a free gift. We can explain that to the unsaved in 3 minutes. You can't earn it. You can't do it by works. We get all that. We understand that. But dude, you're just getting into the stadium. You just got a ticket to get into the stadium to see what's going on. And then are you going to be a spectator sitting up in the bleachers or are you going to get down on the field? Why? Because Paul, when he writes, he's the one that taught us grace and faith, and you can't save yourself by works of the law, right? We get that. We understand that. But he says, what were you saved for? What was the reason that you were saved? The prizes, he says, the same author, Paul says, you run the race to get a prize. That's different than a free gift. The free gift gets you a ticket into the stadium. Okay? The overcomers are the ones who compete to get the prizes. What's the prize? What was Paul trying to get in the race? Do you remember what he was saying? What was he going to get? Crown of righteousness. Remember how many crowns are waiting for him? Okay, what else? Say that? You would know him. Yeah, exactly. That he would know him in an intimate way. Okay, but I'm talking about functions and roles and things that only you can. You know what? Getting saved is like a scholarship. It's a free ride. Can't earn it. We get that. Okay, fine. But what do you do with a scholarship? Do you go around and you start waving the scholarship in everybody's face, saying, "This is free. I got it for free. It's a scholarship." Well, it's not a diploma. It doesn't say graduate on it, does it? You got the scholarship to produce a result. It's in the kingdom sense. And we've got this linear distortion, that relocation based on Greek. I'm going to explain this next week to you about what Plato's attitude and philosophy was. Once you understand Plato, you'll understand Gnosticism. And once you understand Gnosticism, you'll understand, my gosh, this goes way back to John's early epistles and Paul talking about it. And he's saying this Gnostic stuff was in the 1st century. This is nothing new, but it was never addressed. It's time to address it and find out what the heck is going on. We need to get the army going in the right direction. Guys, they're calling us spiritual revolutionaries, right? Because didn't you guys just take a class with Kaz Taylor? Okay. Well, guess what? The worship's changing. It's changing. This is changing. What's happening is God's taking the seals off of these mysteries and he's saying, guys, smell the coffee, wake up. It's not the design what you thought. And it makes sense because when you put it together, you're going to go, wow, this is simple, but it's profound. This is simple, yet it's impactful. This is simple, but it's changing my life. Guess what? This isn't theory. We did this for 10 years down in the jails. And when these guys started to apply the circle of the kingdom and not just the gospel of salvation, it's different. It's how the last touchdown of the game looks like. We didn't lose heaven in the garden, guys. We didn't. Let's get that straight. We lost God. And God is a God of aliyah. He says, come Home. And what example do we have of that? How many times in the Hebrew history do you see it over and over and over? You see that with Gideon. You see it with the first temple. They're up in Babylon. First temple was destroyed. Come back to me. That's all Jeremiah is all about. Return, return. Come back to your lands. But more importantly, I want your heart soft this time. Don't you come back with your Baals. Don't you come back with your Asheroths. Don't you come back with your idols, because that was what caused the judgment in the first place. You wouldn't listen to my warnings. You basically killed all the prophets. You basically got rid of them and said, no, we're going to run it our own way. And I had to let happen what happened so you would wake up. It's a circle. Whether it's the corporate tribe of the 12 tribes and they all experience it, or the individual. Do you think Job, after 42 excruciating chapters, is a straight line, or is Job a circular story? Which of the two? How does it end? It's a circular story. He gets all his stuff back. Double. And the kids, he has the same number of kids again. It's a circular renewal, restoration, redemption. Redemption means to buy back something that you lost. That's why it's called redemption. Honestly, the word salvation misses the point. It's redemption. What Christ did on the cross, he's redeemed us through his blood. Wow. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Folks, it's all about thy will be done. We are screwed up because no one's doing thy will be done. We don't preach it in the churches, not much. We don't. I actually went to a service. I was invited by my cousin. I went, and I sat there and listened to this. I actually heard this. I'm glad I heard it. It's good for me. It's good that I recognize this. He actually said, thank God for good old Jesus, because otherwise I'd have to obey God. What? Yes, the pastor. Do you think anybody blushed? It's a big church. I'm looking around going, okay, who's got the tomatoes? Is anything going to happen? You know? It was kind of like the guys that I did, the misquoting in the jail. So, yep, I am the way, the truth, and life. No one gets to heaven but by me. That's what it says. Nodding along. It looks like you're praying at the Wailing Wall, Yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm not surprised. This is the fruit unless you deal with this stuff. It's either a circular story or it's a Greek straight line. It's either a Hebrew cyclical circular story or it's a Greek straight line. It's one of the two.